Measurement is a central aspect of all the work that we do as we engage with both impact investment and social enterprises. So we wanted to explore a little bit why it is that we see its role as so important, and we're doing that today with one of our partners, NAB. Corinne, I was wondering whether, first up, you could talk to us a little bit about how NAB has engaged with the area of measurement and why it's important for the bank.
Okay, for about the last 10 years, NAB has been looking at its contribution to the community, and that was when we commenced our journey around publicly reporting what we actually did in the community. So we started with the London benchmarking framework, but that really monetises a lot of the activities that we do. And then over the last 3 or 4 years, we've started to look at social return on investment, where we're actually starting to look at the impact of our programs and whether they make a difference. Why would the bank be interested? Initially, some stakeholders want to know what we're doing and where we're spending our money. And then secondly, we as a part of the corporate responsibility team want to know where we should spend our money and what makes the biggest difference. And so within the microfinance portfolio, I need to know of the 5 different programs we run, which one will actually make a difference, the most difference to those who are financially excluded. So is it a basic loans product or is it a savings product? And therefore, how much money should be basically to fund those various initiatives? It also provides you with a clear proof point that bankers understand and financial decision makers understand when you start to monetise that impact rather than just the nice customer stories around it made a difference to this single mother or it changed my life and those pieces. So that qualitative information is essential in that is what connects people to initiatives and programs, but then you need to go that next step further in terms of we have limited resources and how do you best invest those in the areas that make the greatest difference.
We talk a lot about blended value and that integration of feeling like you're having both a social or environmental impact as well as the financial. With your journey around measurement, have you seen a shift, say, from going from the London benchmarking things into now the bank looking at impact investment and you exploring measurement with an impact investment lens? What is that journey looking like? How different is it?
I think we have kind of evolved our thinking and we continue to do the social return on investment work and the London benchmarking group. Different audiences have different needs, but we're also cognizant that we've got to rethink this because they all take time, money and resources to actually get that data there. It's a bit like financial information. Different types of aggregation are required to get to different decisions for different audiences. So kind of looking at that. I think one of the key things with the impact investment work is we're kind of acknowledging that any investment has an impact, whether it's a positive or a negative impact. And here we're actually trying to do a triage to better understand the positive impact of those investments so that we can then redistribute funds to those investments.
Okay. Elliot, with the aspects as you look at impact investment in the bank at NAB, and starting to really examine and do some research about emerging trends, what are you seeing happening out there in the market as people look at impact investment and measurement?
I think it's become quite clear in the impact investment space that there's a real need for a common language around impact measurement and how we talk about impact measurement. There's a lot of different ways of doing impact measurement and outcomes measurement. It's really about kind of coming to the core of, well, what is it for the different stakeholders involved in impact investment that's going to make a difference and help us understand what is the impact risk that we're assessing here. The other piece is really around making sure that we've got something that's comparable. One of the challenges that we've had is that the social return on investment work is fantastic for understanding the individual impact of the programs that we're looking at, but being able to compare across a range of different programs and understanding, as Corinne said, where do you best put your money to have the greatest impact has been quite difficult. So coming up with a common framework or a standardised set of measurements and indicators is going to be really important as we continue down this path.
And I think based also on that is we need something really simple and standardised, and one of the key issues in this space is the language is complex.
Yep.
So we kind of need to move it from a more of an academic sphere into something that's very much more for a practitioner And again, if you go back to the parallels of financial information and data, it took over 100 years for accounting standards to develop. We're trying to do this in
rapidly,
15, 10 years. And we're trying to measure something that the accounting standards gave up trying to measure. So the whole issue around externalities was left out because they didn't know how to value that. So now we're trying to say, okay, the bits that we left out before because they were too hard, how do we build a system for them? So really important piece of work. However, we have to be conscious not to overcomplicate because no one will use the frameworks.
Yeah.
If we stay on the emerging trends but go into some of the things that you've talked about relating to different stakeholders and different audience groups, what have you found? You've now been able to play with some measurement things, a number of different frameworks or methodologies. What are you seeing as common aspects around different audiences and their needs for measurement or reporting?
I think if I look at the bank's investment in, say, community programs, the initial piece that's quite important is to actually engage the heart of people. So when you're looking at individuals, you need to, in that impact piece, tell the story. And I think it's essential to be able to tell the story from before to the after and to demonstrate that impact. But where that used to be sufficient enough to be able to get funding across the line, now we need the harder data and probably the numbers to kind of stack it up. Again, there in that space, we're looking at different information, different audiences. But if we look at an investment angle, it's quite a different story where whether it's a single investor or whether it's a super fund, they're going to have very different needs to satisfy because they're meeting the needs of more than one person. And particularly in this space, which does have such a strong values piece to it, we have to be aware that not everyone has the same values. So how do you aggregate this work so that people feel comfortable of, I can make an investment in that fund or organisation because it does good for the environment or it does good for homelessness.
Yeah. I think if you look at that aspect of stakeholders and their different needs, often when we've talked about measurement, I think people have this reaction and feel like you're only talking about the needs of the investor or the funder. And that awareness, if you like, around everyone's driven by different things, there's different mission or purpose as to why they engage is really important. And I know that in the work particularly that we did around the measurement report, as we looked at how do we help people realise that measurement is actually really beneficial for you as an organisation delivering a social service or working with beneficiaries because of the fact that it can help improve those outcomes you're getting and the beneficiaries can ensure that the best possible outcomes are being achieved. Are you seeing more organisations that you work with starting to use it to improve their work and improve that ultimate outcome that they generate?
I guess the best example we have is in the microfinance space and the social return on investment work that we've conducted in partnership with Good Shepherd Microfinance. And that work has been fundamental to how we're starting to shape that program for the future. So really looking at the strategy that underlines, well, how do we look at the distribution channel of this microfinance program to reach more people, to have a greater impact, and understand which elements or levers we can pull within, I guess, the end-to-end process that will make a difference to that outcome. And it's been really instrumental in kind of leading that process.
But kind of on that, I believe the measurement is just the beginning of that journey. What we've realised is even in the definition of what is the right impact that we should be pursuing, we're actually challenging a lot of norms, particularly in some of the not-for-profit space, of what success looks like. Yeah. And that requires a whole lot of change management, and I don't think we've got there yet. So although I think the evaluation and the measurement piece is giving us a blueprint for the future, actually putting that blueprint into implementation is hard.
It's a journey. It's definitely a journey.
I think, staying on the idea of journey or a spectrum, with impact investment, one of the things that I'm really passionate about, and I know that you guys are, is that if we look at the definition of impact investment and the importance of the intention of that investment and the measurability, I still see in most opportunities, intention is clear, but the measurability is something we need to work more on. And so starting to raise, and as you said, with emerging trends, have common language and have comparability in the mix, and some of these aspects is really important as we put it back to the beginning, because I think often in our approaches around measurement, we wait till the program's been done, we wait till we think we've had a good impact, and then we try and tap it on at the end. Yeah. And so starting to design for upfront, measuring as a key aspect of I've articulated the outcomes I want to achieve and how will I demonstrate I've reached that, is something that we really need to
I think one of the challenges we face as a financial institution that's looking to fund some of these investments is that our customers in doing the transactions aren't thinking about this early enough. And we still have, I think, a significant job in educating our staff who are involved in structuring the transactions to understand the importance of having that measurement piece, and that it's not the icing on the cake, it's actually part of the wiring of the transaction. And that we've got a journey there internally, but I think some of the key people who are involved in this space are starting to see the merits. And part of it is reframing the question. It's not just about impact measurement, but it's what does success look like? And people are quite comfortable with that question. Yeah. And when you peel back what success looks like, impact is part of it.
Great. So as we've talked about, measurement is not only a really important aspect, it's something that is becoming more and more central in conversations and literature that's being written. There's a stack of things out there to read, and we would really encourage you to get your head around measurement and try to bring it up right to the design part of all the work that you do, the investments and the funding that you engage with. Thanks so much for joining us.